love to have animals around us as human beings. It's part of who we are, and yet the last couple of weeks have shown us some horrific intersections of human lives with those with animals happening several times at the nation's zoos, or the world's zoos. And that's why I wanted to have Ron Kagan back in from the Detroit Zoo. Ron, thank you very much for being here.
Pleasure.
But this has been a really soul-searching time, I think, for you and your staff. This has been horrible to watch, especially what we saw in Cincinnati with a gorilla needing to be shot to try to save the life of a little boy.
Yeah, really horrible accident. Terrible for the gorillas, first and foremost, because they watched one of their own get killed. Obviously very
Which is a really interesting part. That's how a zoo director would see this.
Well,
I'm not sure everybody else would understand the mourning process that the other gorillas had to go through.
We all need to remember that, of course, we are part of the animal kingdom, and so it shouldn't surprise people that animals, especially things like gorillas, would have similar emotions to what we have. And this is now proven scientifically, so it's not sort of anthropomorphizing. But the human-wildlife conflict goes on all over the world, not just in zoos, of course. We were in Nepal last year helping the government there deal with it. They have a very different view. There's a tiger there that's roaming around, has already killed 10 people in the wild. Nobody, including the government, wants to kill the tiger. They want to figure out ways to live with wildlife. Obviously,
because the tiger is simply doing what tigers do?
Right, exactly. And so, you know, we can't sanitize nature. And we shouldn't try to, but we should try to make sure that people are as safe as possible. Obviously, people expect to be safe at a zoo, but we also have situations where they're just freak accidents. Millions have gone to that exhibit at the Cincinnati Zoo, and nothing's ever happened.
And nobody's ever gotten in. And I know you wouldn't want to second guess the way that they responded, but as you watched the video, I'm not sure you were ever sure that the boy was in trouble, but they really couldn't take that risk of being that presumptuous.
Well, their policy is the same as ours. When in doubt, if you have no choice, you have to protect human life first. Having said that, I didn't see anything to suggest that the gorilla had any intention of harming the child. Normally that kid, if it had been a young gorilla, would have climbed onto the back of the male, on the silverback, and would have been safe. And I think the gorilla probably was trying to protect him, was certainly scared by all the screaming people and everything else. But the unintended possibility of the child being seriously hurt or killed was clearly there.
We saw the guy who I guess was trying to commit suicide in Chile, throwing himself into the lion's den, and they ended up having to kill the lion. Part of this issue is accessibility, isn't it? We used to have, in the really horrible days of zoos, it was just we stand back and watch something in a cage, which couldn't have been all that pleasurable for anybody.
It was a prison.
It was a prison, yes. Now, though, as we've tried to break down those bars and those walls, that's where our intersection becomes fraught with peril.
Trying to create immersion, but still it's much safer than if you go into the wild. But trying to create that immersion does mean that you stop building fortresses, that you don't put animals behind bars. They're not guilty of anything. They're not generally dangerous. Gorillas are not dangerous. So, you know, going backwards 50 years would be a terrible thing, I think, both for animals and for people.
Then we had a couple of events happen that weren't in zoos, but showed us the dangerous sort of world that still exists. We had the little boy with the alligator on a family vacation, which is still just too horrible to think about in Orlando. Then we had a jaguar that was supposed to be a part of this ceremony for lighting the torch in Brazil, and it gets loose from its handler, and they have to shoot the jaguar. Both of these show we're really in a strange place with the way we expect nature to behave around us.
There's been an unusual number of these sort of strange incidents. With the alligator, I think it's fairly obvious given the size of that alligator, it wasn't trying to predate on the child. It was probably startled by the child running near it or possibly on it, but nevertheless a terrible tragedy. There are at least 1 million alligators in Florida. So we do have to remember, plus there are lots of large pythons, and some of those origins were that they were pets, and people released them. So
that wasn't a great idea to own a python
and
that
it's
long.
A terrible idea for somebody to have as a mascot a jaguar or a leopard or any other exotic animal. That never should have happened with the Olympics. That animal shouldn't have been part of this.
Even that's what the Rio Committee has now said as well. We've watched 2 weeks ago, I guess, the Buenos Aires Zoo announced that they were closing. Now, there may have been money issues behind this too, but I guess they're trying to sort of make a virtue out of this, because and I guess it raises the question, should we have zoos?
Well, we shouldn't have bad zoos. And
Certainly not.
And if we do have zoos, they should certainly be in the process of major re-engineering, which I think is happening in the States, certainly with accredited zoos. But your viewers probably don't know that there are 10 times as many roadside zoos as there are accredited zoos. And so you've got—
No, I didn't.
You've got some pretty awful situations. It's very seductive, you know, the idea that maybe you can come and hold a tiger cub or a bear cub. There is major effort going on in Washington to change this federally. We've been involved in it along with a number of other entities. So the answer is, the future of zoos hopefully is that they really do become sanctuaries. And what does that mean? It means a place that's safe for people, safe for animals, and where there is a really good quality of life for animals. There are lots of old zoos that just aren't there. Is it a resource issue to some extent? Of course. Yeah. If Argentina is willing to spend $100 million or more, perhaps they could create a great zoo.
Ron, I always learn a ton when I talk to you. It's always great to have you here. Thanks for being here this morning. Ron Kagan, the Detroit Zoo. Thank you for being here as well. Mitch Albom's Heart of Detroit is coming up next, and then after that, it's Meet the Press. Have a great holiday. We'll see you back here next week.